Hey, so I'm Anthony Ford, a notorious deck restoration painter, and I'm the proprietor of a thick build, high stretch, lifetime deck armor system called Kong Armor. What we're here talking about today is, do thick build deck rescue or deck restoration coatings, do they lock water into boards and cause rot? I hear this a lot, in the deck industry, in the deck world. This gets spun around a lot. It gets spun around a lot by homeowners. I talk to a lot of them that say, stuff like, "Oh, well, that bare deck over," or some DIY rescue coating that they've used, some type of thick residential rescue coating that they've used has caused board rot. And actually, they're saying that the coating system somehow has locked water into their wood and caused all their planks to rot. And most of them get this idea from a contractor or somebody that has come out and is trying to sell them on a full-scale deck teardown and replacement. Okay, to understand how this is not true, you first have to understand why deck boards rot in the first place. Okay, and I'm gonna go over this with you real quickly. It's really simple, the reason why deck boards rot. This is one of my deck projects. This is here. We are actually in Crescent Springs, Kentucky is where we're at, and this is what we call a peeling bare deck over system. And with this particular system, there were a few rotten planks. Okay, what makes deck planks rot typically is when water gets to their fasteners. And you can see the reaction that's happening here. You see this discoloration? So this discoloration here is actually caused by this fastener starting to rust. It's rusting because water has gotten to it. So water's gotten to it. Water's starting to cause rust to the screw head, to the screw shaft even. And since wood has a small mineral content in it, it'll start to react with that. Now, what happens is, once that reaction gets too bad, once that reaction really kicks off and really takes off, it can turn. And this is kind of what it looks like when a fastener corrodes and starts to rust, and the wood, the mineral content in the wood reacts with it. You just start to get a very nasty chemical reaction, minerals that are reacting with rust that happens, and it just tears up the wood and cliffs it out on the inside and just makes it junk, right? But is it the film? Is it this film that's trapped the water down in there and caused that, right? Tell you that that's not the case. In fact, the water doesn't need to stay in there for that reaction to occur. What's much more common is that water has gotten into that plank somehow. Let me brighten my screen here a little bit. What's much more common is that water has gotten into that plank or that board somehow through a crack or an opening. On a low-lying deck system like this, it can actually come up from the bottom and absorb into the wood, right? And once that corrosion sets in, the water doesn't have to remain there. Wood retains up to 15 to 20% moisture content basically in numerous parts of the nation all year long, right? So there's always a small water content in wood, and it just makes that reaction go and go and go and go further. Thick build films, they're actually very helpful at locking water out, which is the opposite of what everybody claims, right? So thick build films When you see a deck that's done properly with thick build films, so this is an area of the deck that has really good adhesion, and you can see that the fasteners are covered over. Um, there's not a lot of areas for water to enter into these planks, and at one point in time this whole deck was like that. What's happened here is moisture has come up from the bottom side of the deck. This is what we call a low-lying deck system. UV rays have hit the film, damaged its adhesion, and water's come up from the bottom. And yes, after years and years and years of that, you can start to have screws and nails that rust and corrode, and a few of these boards may start to take on rot, right? But if you get with the wrong contractor that's looking to sell you replacement, or you get with somebody that doesn't really know what they're talking about, they don't know why deck planks corrode, they might get this idea in their head, oh, it's that paint film. The paint film trapped the water in there. Water naturally drops out of boards, out of the underside of them. It takes the path of least resistance, and it's very good at doing that. It travels very quickly. And water, if water gets into a plank somehow through the top side, it's going to drop out the bottom side. And the problem is with these low-lying systems, they can build humidity and heat up underneath of them that can constantly keep moisture pressing on the bottom side of the planks. It's not so much that the thick build film has trapped the water in there. It's more of a situation of just a lot of different pressures and combinations that that cause boards to rot. And it wouldn't make a difference if you had a thick build film or if you had some type of clear sealer or just open and exposed wood. It doesn't matter. At some point in time, if your fasteners start to rot and corrode, then your fasteners have started to rot and corrode, and that's what's causing that board rot. I've never seen, outside of a board that's just sitting flush on the ground and is constantly soaking wet, I've never seen deck planks or deck boards rot without it being a fastener, without it being the metal that's actually causing the issue. Thick build films do not trap water in. They work very great at trapping water out, keeping water out of your fasteners, and stopping that fastener corrosion. And in fact, they're the best thing that I've ever found to stop it. Thin residential deck paints and stains, they're not going to work. They're not going to stop water from accessing your fasteners, and you're going to have even more rotten boards, right? Again, out an issue where we have reverse water, and if that's the case, then it doesn't matter what film it is. There's always a constant moisture problem, and you can't blame that on the film. Outside of that, and outside of maybe somebody installing a roof system on the bottom of their deck, board rot is from nothing more than fasteners starting to corrode. And you need to take action annually, what we call annual cleaning. Clean your system annually. If it has a bunch of cracks and it has a bunch of fastener openings, then you need to take action to apply more coating at that time to stop and to slow that down. But don't let a contractor or somebody tell you, oh, that coating system, it's trapping water in, you need to pull all this up and replace it. It's just not reality. It's a fable. It's a fairy tale. Fasteners corrode. The wood reacts, right? Use premium fasteners. Only use the best fasteners in the world. I recommend camo coated. And use a thick build film that can cover over your fastener heads, cover over your cracks, cover over your openings. And if you're still having moisture come into those boards after that, then it's getting in from a different spot, and it's something that you need to address, maybe look at, see what you can do to help, right? But the film itself is not causing you the problem. I'm Anthony Ford. Check out my company Kong Armor at www.kongarmor.com. Thanks for watching my video. See you.